Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me loud and clear? Hope everyone is good here. Good evening, good morning, everywhere that you are. My name is Irene Umar. I'm currently dialing in from Singapore, and I hope that technically everything is doing good. Everything is good. Give me a thumbs up, please. Give me some love. Give me some reactions if you guys are there. And today we have a very, very special AMA and very, very special guest, which is the investors of WEGG. I think a lot of people ask me these questions wherever I go on who is actually the backers of WEGG. And right now, it's not only about bringing them into the AMAs or shilling the names, but we're going to bring them right here in the AMA itself. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Nabila and Robbie. Hi, guys. How are you guys doing?
Hi, everyone.
Hello. All good here
Awesome,
from
awesome. Could you perhaps maybe start with ladies first? Nabila, would you like to introduce yourself?
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, I'm Nabila. Spent most of my career in venture capital, investing in early stage startups, both in Southeast Asia and the US. I'm with DCG. So DCG is an investor and operator in the crypto world. We have investment in over 200 plus companies in 30 different countries. We have a few subsidiaries, which include Grayscale, Foundry, and Luno. And a lot of our past investments include Coinbase, Circle, Uniswap, and of course, WEGG. So happy to be investing a lot more and happy to be here.
Thank you, Nabila. And Robbie, over to
Hi,
you.
I'm Robbie. I'm with Animoca Brands, and we are, I guess, known for two things. One is making games, and the other one is investing. And on the investing side, which is where I spend most of my time, we invest broadly across the Web3 ecosystem. Everything from platforms and marketplaces like OpenSea and Magic Eden to game companies and developers like everybody from Sky Mavis to Yuga Labs, etc. And WeGG, of course, as well as lots of other, guilds, because we really believe strongly in supporting both Web3 communities as well as particularly gaming communities.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the intro, Robbie and Nabila, especially to Robbie, who just flew all the way from Singapore to London last night and then being here with us today in the AMA. Truly appreciate it. And Nabila, I'm sure that you've attended hundreds of side events and spent some of your time here this week at Token 2049. So thanks a lot for that. I apologize for the very bad lighting and possibly audios. I'm currently in the Sandbox VIP dinner at the moment with Sebastian, and we're just jiving over here. So thank you so much for you guys to be here. Now, in today's topic, right, the art of investing into Web3, a lot of people ask the questions like, what goes behind those closed doors? Like the moment after we pitch, right? What's happened behind those closed doors? What's actually being discussed, after a project pitched to you guys as investors? Perhaps I'll just dive straight into it and address the pink elephant before we have fun a little bit towards the end. Who would like to take that one first?
Okay. Go for it, Nabila.
Sure, I can start. I mean, every firm have different processes, but generally there's usually the direct investment team who assess the companies, and then you usually bring it to another separate team, which is like an investment committee. Basically, you want to pitch the startup to another person. So in order to pitch the startup to another person itself as an investment person, you have to be able to, build your own conviction, and basically you assess a few things, but primarily it's about the founder, the market, and the product, and then there's a lot of different things on top of all that. Very simply put that.
Okay.
I think, to be honest, our process is not not too dissimilar, and over time, we were not professional investors when we started in this space. It's something that I think hopefully we've gotten a little bit better at over time and practice. But I think our process tends to start from just our gut instinct as builders in the space when we see interesting products or smart teams that we've worked with in the past, or frankly, and this is something that people always ask me, how do we get in touch with you guys, or how do we get in touch with good investors? And I think every investor has the same answer for this, which is a warm intro is always the best, because having a reference from somebody that you know and trust doesn't it is not a make or break it thing, but it's a way to get past the noise, because as investors, we get barraged with plans and requests every day. And so, having that warm intro gets you to the top of the pile for review, so to speak. But once that happens, we have, we have a really large internal committee. We actually have a meeting every week that we go through all the deals that we're considering seriously investing in, and everybody gets to kick the tires, so to speak. And that call has somewhere between 25 and 30 people on it. So we really, it's definitely crowdfunding decision making, at least at the beginning, because the thing is, we also don't know in our organization who's got all of the knowledge, right? Knows the project, knows the area they're in, knows the competitors, etc. And we want to make sure that we can surface all that information and take advantage of the fact that we have so many smart colleagues.
That's really good. I really like that. It's a decentralized knowledge zone, right? So, Nabila, you mentioned that founders is the most important thing that you look at, and then Robbie, you touch on relationships. So it seems that there's a lot of human factors and relationship that's involved before deciding it, and then the second one is the collective knowledge that people have. So I'm just wondering, right, for our audience right here, there are some of them who are creators, for example, that are struggling to fundraise or who would like to fundraise, and they are attending like 800 of such events in Token 2049 right now. So would like to know, where would be the best place for you guys to spot founders or potential projects? Is it at parties? Is it at side events? Is it at dinners? Or is it really by connections, private connections? Or how do you guys do it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think parties are the best, but if you are able to hustle through the parties to get to know people, that's great. I was at the party yesterday, and some people just networked through. That's awesome. But again, as Robbie said, I think warm connections are the best. So I think use the side events to build relationship over time. So I think if you're thinking of fundraising, I think you should think ahead. Maybe if you're thinking of fundraising, that you need to fundraise maybe 6 months ahead, then maybe now is your time to build relationship with the VCs or people that could connect you to the VCs that you want to be connected to. And so I think you don't have to think about it as one way to actually get to do the pitch right away. So that's one way I would put it. And then I think also go to the events that are right for you. If you're building in the gaming space, obviously go to the gaming event, go to the sandbox event that you were attending just now, right? And build connections there. So hopefully more people could vouch for you. You could share more about your projects and so on and so forth. But that's one way to do it. But obviously there's a lot of different ways to get to the investors aside from the events.
Yeah, I would largely agree with that. I think Nabila's hit it on the head. And obviously, if you do have the opportunity to get invited to things like Irene, where you are at the Sandbox dinner, which I'm assuming is probably a seated dinner, then those are the ideal places because you actually get time to sit, next to a couple of people and really introduce yourself, and it's not just grabbing somebody who's come off stage and trying to get 2 minutes of their time before they walk off somewhere else. I find also, at least for me as an investor, I find the events really good because it's an opportunity where if I have a portfolio company or if I have a founder who's approached me that, it's not my area or I don't really understand, the area that they're in, these events can sometimes be a good opportunity for me to go and grab somebody else that I do know and say, actually, you should talk to this person because they do later stage stuff or they do infrastructure, which I'm not looking at right now, or RWAs or whatever it is. And so that, live events are quite useful for that kind of thing. And Irene, actually, you and I were together at our portfolio day yesterday that we had for our portfolio companies. And that's why I like those events the most, because it's a chance to have everybody in the same room and kind of make those warm introductions in person, because it's very efficient.
Fantastic. And I have to testify for this though, because Robbie, just like Robbie mentioned yesterday, right? It's very rare to find the right investors as well. I always say that it's two-way conversation. It's a project pitching for the investors, but at the same time, also choosing the right investors are also very important, because especially in the crypto space, where there's a bear and a bull market happening, right? And you'd like to have investors that are supportive of us when we are in the bear market. And I would say that both DCG and Animoca have been great supports. In fact, when we were having a conversation with Robbie yesterday, he quickly just pulled someone from Open Campus and said, "You guys should talk." This is one example.
That was exactly the example I was thinking of.
And that's insane, because with the large portfolio companies, I think, Robbie, that's what you meant by strategic investment, right? And therefore
Yes.
you have huge investment committee to see it's not just an investment for potential returns, but also synergies within the ecosystem to grow it up. Is
Yes.
that
Well, and also we're a little bit different from a traditional financial investor because we're most often a strategic investor. So the people that we have, when I referred to 25 or 30 people on the call, they're not all investors. Some of them are BD people we have or project managers, but they're people who understand the space. They might be specifically technical, or they might understand fintech, but Web3 is so vast and complex that it's nice to have everybody devote, an hour of their week to the call, because they might have some knowledge to bring to the table, even if it's not about making an investment decision. It's just, I know a lot about this kind of tech, so I'm useful on this call.
fantastic? It's again about decentralization of knowledge and then centralize it together to make better decisions. And with DCG as well, it's one of the very, very rare investors who told me these things, right? When we were struggling last year at the bear market, and now we are at the better footings. But the sayings that says the worst time is the time when you find who are your true friends. I found that with DCG, because DCG was telling us, like, just make sure that you have enough runway for 2 pivots of your business, and then you'll be fine, and find the real business models, because in the end of the day, the valuations could go up, and in crypto the tokens go up and down, but most important is you find your business model that's scalable, and you allow yourself with 2 pivots, and you're fine. We'll be here to back you up. We are not here to just say bye to you. And that I find is very inspiring.
I'm glad. And yeah, and just on the strategic investment part, I think it's all about, how you can add value. And it's both ways, right? For us, it's like, how can DCG add value to the company? And also, obviously, how can the company add value to our portfolio companies? So that's one thing that we discuss during our investment decisions. So for example, which of our portfolio company could actually benefit from this, and how can our portfolio companies benefit to their company that we're looking to invest in? So that's one angle on strategic investment, and hoping to keep them alive during the hard times as well, right?
Thank you so much for that, Nabila. So, guys, when you hear about strategic investment, it's not some BS thing. Some investors actually mean it, and I, as one of the portfolios that has been invested, I feel it myself as early as yesterday from Robbie and also from Nab as well, who basically just introduce people, even though you don't meet in person. Telegram, the number of Telegram chats that has been pulled to do introductions is insane from both Animoca and DCG, and that's why when people say strategic investments, that's what you meant, right? So those for those of you guys who are out there, giving you guys tips in terms of where to look out for, right? And the next question that I have is, there are a lot of pitches that happen, be it at party or be it at closed doors, right? do you guys say no to them, or do you guys tend to just ghost them if you want to reject the investment, or how do you guys manage it? Because not a lot of people can manage rejections, right? And it's like a dating game, like, so when you guys want to say, oh, I'm not interested to invest in you, how do you do it? Because a lot of my peers say that, what, they just ghost us, right? Is that true?
So I can share some insight from my own situation. I think I probably end up ghosting a lot of people, only because after a day like yesterday, for example, so I think I must have gone to 6 events or something. So I probably collected 20 new Telegram chats as a result of that. And I'm not going to be able to get back to all of those, because some of them will naturally just fall to the bottom of the pile, and I will not, even if, unless I go filter through every Telegram chat I have, looking for the unreads, I will never find it. And so it's not really ghosting them. It's just that it honestly gets lost in the shuffle of everything else. I think that the easiest way to let somebody down, or the best way to do it, in my opinion, is to just give them candid feedback. Because if you, but obviously do it nicely. I mean, don't be an ass, right? But give them candid feedback and say, look, honestly, it sounds really interesting, but I don't understand the space. Or it sounds really interesting, but I think it's too early for us. Or I think it's interesting, but I think you need to work on this X, Y, or Z, and give them some hopefully constructive feedback. But also don't lead them on, because if you're really not going to invest, you're wasting their time and yours.
Totally. It's pretty much like a dating game, right? Don't lean them on if you don't want them. Just, let them move on to the next guy or the next girl.
Yeah, I agree. And I guess it's usually even you actually, as an investor, I think it would be very much not a good look if you already have, like, for example, a second call or second meetings with the founders, and you just ghost them and say no. I think as investors, you also got to man up and be able and be brave to say no, right? Because the founders have been very vulnerable in sharing. The least that you could do for their time is actually to say no when you don't feel like it's a good investment for the company. So at DCG, at least we try our best to manage, to give our feedback. Obviously, there might be some times where, as Robbie said, a lot of things might have, we might have missed it, but we try our best not to, and that is definitely not intentional. Our intention is always to get back to the founder.
So you guys hear it firsthand from the investors, two of the best investors that we have in our cap table, Animoca and DCG, on, that if they do ghost you, it doesn't mean that you are unwanted or abandoned. It's simply because they meet a lot of people. Like the token this time is 800 events. Last year I thought it's bad with 500 events. This year is 800 events, and in each event there are hundreds of people. Let's face it, right? There are 30,000 people in Singapore at the moment, and so don't take it personally. Now, do you guys think that it's okay for founders to follow up and say, hey, we meet in these events, would like to, would you appreciate that more, or would you find that a nuisance, really, for people who continues to pester you? Can we pitch to you properly? What do you guys, what are your thoughts?
I personally love founders who follow up. I mean, as Robbie said, there's a lot of Telegram chats. You might get lost in the weed. I love the tenacity. It shows persistence. Obviously, if, for example, the investor already said no and the no is quite clear, I don't mind them pushing out again, but I'm just worried it might be a waste of their time as well. So hopefully the message is clear enough from the investor side and the founder can take that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think persistence does work in, sometimes. And we can find it annoying, but persistence also just forces us to pay attention sometimes. But I think, I think, you just have to, it's, again, Irene, as you said, it's like dating. You have to know when to say no and when to be persistent and kind of feel out the situation. But I think also I appreciate at least a little bit of persistence, because when you get so many sort of cold call communications from people, as investors tend to do, the fact that you follow up a couple weeks later and be like, oh, I don't know if you missed my thing, but can you, here I am again. Frankly, a lot of times that's really helpful for me, because I do miss it or get distracted by something else and don't find it, and it helps to resurface it to the top of my inbox.
That's good to know. So it's like dating, guys. Be persistent, but also know when people already say no. Hey, they still be friends, but they just don't want to get into the next level. No, no, that limit, right? So it's actually the same. That's what I love. Like a lot of people say that business, it's basically a meaning of life, right? I mean, if some of you guys speak of right Chinese, business is 生意, which basically is 生活的意义. It's the meaning of life. So if you implement the same logic to it, I know common sense is not so common, but if you apply that into it, then it's basically similar as well. Sorry, I just had a whole bunch of team over here who is having a back sound. One is from WeGG, one is from Sandbox. So I'm that, guys, don't be excited. So thanks a lot for that. Now, I want to shift the focus a little bit to WeGG. I think both of you guys are aware that we are doing our TG in a week time, precisely 7 days from now. So it's been 2 years journey, right? We right through 2021. At that time, we were still called as YGGC. And then we went through the bear market, and now we are WeGG. Now, maybe a bit of flashback of, nostalgic moment of our dating time, right? Could you give us some, or maybe the reason why you guys invested into WeGG, or why you feel that, WeGG could be the next shining star, perhaps? Perhaps, Robbie, you could start off with, I think.
Sure. No problem. So I think it stems back to the origination, I guess, of YGG originally, and this idea of setting up gaming guilds in Web3, which I think we can perhaps give Gabby and the rest of the YGG team credit for innovating that particular model. And so I think from that foundation, we saw a real attraction in supporting the guild model and the model of essentially what we in gaming call live ops, right? Which is community building and managing communities and helping to nurture those communities to get the most out of their gaming experiences, but acknowledging that those experiences in Web3 games can be different than in traditional esports or traditional games, because the games themselves are different and have different features. I mean, most obviously they have, real economies in them, and that means something in the perspective of a Web3 experience. So we thought it was really great that there are groups out there that can professionalize and systematize the way in which they support these communities, because education is really important in Web3, and educated consumers are much better for us as businesses too. So it really helps us out as well.
Yep, and I think just echoing what Robbie said, I think just being focused on a market that was very exciting as well at the time. I mean, Southeast Asia is obviously a very exciting market, and having us, being specifically branded for Southeast Asia is definitely also helping to be super focused. So that was actually something that is very exciting for us too, I'm sure.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys, for the faith and support in the past 2 years. Finally, we're getting into TG, but of course, this is not the end. This is the beginning. We talk about that, Robbie. That is the beginning of really building the empire, the business model properly, and bring it to the market. Now, last year, July 2023, we went through a major restructuring and major rebranding from YGGC into WeGG. Yes, a lot of the reasons is because we kept repeating of people keep asking, what's the difference between YGG and YGGC other than the C part, right? And you guys are two separate entity. Although I love Gabby to bits, we've been best friends for the longest time, but we're two separate entity. And then there are a lot of concerns from certain investors that from YGGC into WeGG, you might not be a known brand, and you're rebranding at the bear market, right? Who's gonna know you guys? So just wanna, can you share a little bit of your thoughts, like through the rebranding, what went through in your head at the time? And you guys were still very supportive. I hang up the phone, I'm like, thank God I've got these guys in. But what was in your mind actually?
Okay, I'll start. I think honestly, it's your brand and they're your customers and your community, so you know best, right? It's not up to us to second guess that, as because honestly, the worst thing is when like venture investors start telling founders what to do and how to run their businesses better, right? Because like if you're going to invest in their business, you got to trust they know what they're doing. Our job is to kind of just provide some guardrails. Like if we think you're really crazy, then I'll call you and be like, Irene, that's just like, that's bad shit. Stop, you know? But for the most part, we have to leave you to do your thing and trust that you know how to make the right decision, because that's why we invested.
Actually, if I can just double down on that, I think Irene, earlier you asked about the importance of founder, and I think this is the reason why as investors we specifically want to back the best founders, because they are the one who knows the business the best. We as investors, we look into a lot of different businesses, but we don't know the day to day. You know the market best, and startups go through a lot of pivots and a lot of restructuring, a lot of hard moments. And so as investors, we're here to hear you out, to hear what you think is best for the company. Obviously, if it doesn't make sense, then we will share our point of view based on our experiences. But, we're here to support you. So.
Aw, thank you so much, guys. I feel so much love over here. Now that I'm in this dinner, just finished the dinner and then jump into this AMA, I'm like over the moon. I was super tired.
Don't forget, Irene, we still assume you're going to make a profit here.
It's all about this, right? It's all about profit and purpose, which is something that's super challenging, but that's what makes us all jump into Web3. It's all about profit and purpose, because otherwise then this is too difficult. And that's what we do here in WEG as well. Sometimes I also ask myself, why the hell do I want to do this? Because what we want to do is community focused, community driven, right? And so that is, but sometimes the community might not want it or might feel that they don't want it. Sometimes people, you don't know what you don't know, right? But it is about the impacts, and the impacts is obviously not only on purpose but also profits, because otherwise it's not sustainable. And thank you so much, Robbie and for Nabila, for the faith in us. And we can assure you in WGG, regardless of where the token goes, we're here to build a sustainable, profitable business model, here to create those impacts and make a dent in the universe. So we have a little bit of meaning over here. So not to worry about this. Now, moving on to the next questions that I've got on the art of investing, right? So we talk about investing part per se. Now we touch a little bit about post investment. So just out of curiosity, right? In DCG and Animoca, especially Animoca, you have 25, 30 people. Is there a pre and post investment management team within your teams itself, and how does that look like?
Sure. So we do. We have, usually what happens is we have an investing team, and they're the ones investing, and BD are kind of the tip of the spear, so to speak, for finding new things. And then once it gets processed through the investment committee and we agree to make the investment, then we do have a portfolio management team, and their job is mainly they have two jobs. One is to just keep in touch with the company and check in quarterly or whatever the cadence is, and to be the first point of contact if somebody has an issue or a problem or a request, but also in our case to try to enhance connectivity to the rest of the Animoca Brands ecosystem, because we want to encourage companies to work with other investees and partners of ours, because that makes us more useful to them as an investor. So their job is really to look for ways in which they might be able to make connections and between those companies.
Fantastic. What about you now?
Very much similar. I'm sure you've worked a lot with our portfolio management team. They basically help connect, with our portfolio companies. Very much similar to Robbie. So, for example, I focus a lot more on the pre-investment and investment part. But after investment, obviously, we will still stay connected, because, for example, we want to continue invest in the next round. And even investing in the next round, we need some assessments as well. So that also comes from our part. But in terms of business development, connecting to the portfolio companies, we have a separate team managing that, so that we can focus a lot more on the companies as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Robbie, I know that you mostly invest in Web3, but Nabila here, I think you invest both in Web2 and Web3 companies, right? So perhaps just want to start with Nabila on the next question, which is there a significant difference into investing between Web2 and Web3 firms? And what's the differences that you feel in terms of, the feeling of investing in either one of these companies?
Gotcha. I mean, fundamentally, there's not that much difference, right? You again assess the founder, you again assess the market, and then the product and solution. There are obviously different nuances. For example, in Web3, you think about, what is the strategy? Is it equity? Is it token? Web2 companies usually are only equity. So there's not that much. There's some differences there, but fundamentally it's the same. In terms of how you get to the deals, how you screen the deals, there might be some differences. Like Web3 is more community driven, more decentralized. There's a lot of events happening at Token, for example, right now. So it's a lot more noise to go through, honestly, in Web3 compared to Web2. So that's why, again, maybe as a founder, knowing that there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of companies, there's a lot more builders out here, then if you want to fundraise, you have to think a bit more strategically into how to get closer to the investors, maybe, which, as Robbie said, maybe warm intros would be great. Not the only way, but it would be a great way to get connected and eventually be invested.
Thanks, Nab. Robbie, would you like to add to that? Because I know before you get into Web3, you were in Web2 indeed, right? Like we all are.
Yes. Well, and I think, and the big difference, as Nabila said, is thinking about the instrument, obviously, because equity and token investing are different. They have different time horizons, etc. I mean, also the way you think about the way you think about making an investment is also different depending on what kind of investor you are. So, I wear a couple of hats at Animoca Brands, and sometimes we make investments on behalf of our LPs in the case of fund investments. And those we have to think about, a medium-term time horizon of recouping a return on those investments for those LPs. Whereas when we make strategic investments off the balance sheet, we're often less concerned about the time horizon of getting money out of the business, as opposed to what kind of strategic partnership we can create or how we can be helpful to help them grow. So there's a different array of interests. Hey, Seb.
Hello.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, so blame it on him that I'm here. Invitations as well. But this is, I think, how we're talking about art of investing, and I think this is how Animoca connect us to Sandbox as well, and vice versa, right? And now we are working together very closely on community driving.
Well, you can ask Sebastian. I think he's made a couple of investments.
Little bit. Supporting the ecosystem.
We're asking maybe one question for Saad for coming out. Thank you. What do you look out for companies when you invested in them?
All right.
Other than you liking me a lot.
My short answer to that, I look first at the entrepreneurs. I believe no matter how good the vision, the product, and the execution might or might not be, at the end of the day, I'm betting on the founders, the entrepreneur, and their team. And very rarely founders are successful from their first try. They need to usually have the ability to know when they will have to pivot based on their first idea, adapting their MVP based on the market fit and then every other data they collect. And so you want to work with founders and entrepreneurs who have that mindset to know by themselves when is the right point of time for them to pivot, to change an idea, to accept change, or to embrace change, and to even make it better from it.
Thank you so
Short
much.
view,
Really
right?
appreciate it, man.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Next lesson, next time.
We'll make one for sure. Thank you so much. We'll continue on this one. Thanks, Seb. So that is I think live, right? It's something I thought that it'll be good showcase of how Animoca has been a great support to WE3GG from day one, of connecting us with all the tentacles of the big family here, and how we work very closely together. He just walked by and then I come, let's say hi. So thanks a lot for that, Robbie and Nab. Just two last questions, I think, before we end. Is I know now we might have to go out soon for the next party, and Robbie, maybe you need to get some sleep as well, or rest before your next big event tomorrow. Just wanna get one final statement from both of you to all the founders out there who are hustling right now at the quote unquote a bear market right now, right, or a very choppy market in Web3. What would be your ultimate advice to them that is really uniquely Animoca and uniquely WE3GG?
Okay, I'll start. First, I would say, unless you're planning your TGE in the next, like, call it weeks or a couple of months, don't pay attention to the market. Because if your business is dependent on the market, then you don't really have much of a business. Because when the market is good, pretty much anything works, honestly. But I do think that you need to think about the market with respect to your financial planning, because you don't want to find yourself in a position where you're running out of capital, and because the market is bad, investor sentiment is bad, so it's harder to fundraise. So I would say, my classic piece of entrepreneurial advice, which we've tried to always follow, is whenever anybody is offering you money, take it. And don't question the price, just take it, because you can always use more money as a founder, in my experience.
Love that. Love that. Don't make enemies with the money, right? Just take it, man. Just take it. Like when we were kids,
100%.
right? Just take it. And no matter how much
100%.
money our parents give us or how many candies we have eaten, just take it.
Agree.
What about you, Nab?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, always focus on building for for the sake of building and not for for fundraising, right? Because if you just fundraise, then eventually it's not going to end well. But second of all, in terms of managing for the fundraising, I think also raise when you don't need to raise, right? When you raise when you run out of money, you're in a bad situation. So always preserve your runway, always think ahead. So for example, if you're supposed to raise in 3 months time, then preserve an extra 3 months for it, just in case there's ups and downs in the market. And again, in Web3 market, we know that happens. So raise when you don't need to raise is a good quote that I've heard and I've seen work well for our companies.
Thanks for that, Nab. I mean, a lot of things, I think when we hear about that, it's a lot of common sense, right? But in today's world, common sense are not really common sometimes. And hence, it's a bit of a challenge to remind everyone. And so with the two of you coming in to remind all the founders who are maybe hustling out there to sort of like, those practice common sense a little bit and don't wait until last minute. And most important is relationship. Robbie and we've met Romy recently, and Nab, I think we have relationships through my brother. we accidentally met actually in Harvard just earlier this year, and the next thing I know is that Nabila is managing WEG3GG, and so that's, you never know who you're meeting out there. And so I think to a lot of people out there, don't look at, and this is what we do in WEG3GG towards our community as well, is that don't look at the titles of the person and talk to the person or treat the person based on their title, but start treating them as humans, because you never know where it ends up to be. And it doesn't hurt to be kind and to be humble, really. And so these two guys are really humble people, and really, Nabila is a fresh grad from Harvard Business School, the MBA's fresh grad. So those are the top elite de la creme, and very, very smart. Heard a lot about you from my brother. So, and having to work with you here, really an honor. Last one, guys, before I end this. And now, yes, you wanted to say something. If you want to trash my brother, it's okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, one last one, I think, before we end this is with relations to WEG3GG TGE. Is there any message that you guys would like to convey to the audience out there as investors of WEG3GG on our TGE?
Okay, do your own research first. But I think also it's about supporting something. It's about supporting a community you believe in. So if you believe in WEG3GG and you think that the community is strong and they're doing good things, then there's no reason you shouldn't want to be a part of that. And obviously, buying tokens is a way to be a part of a community. So obviously, I think, vote with your heart.
Follow your heart, guys.
100% on the community. And obviously invest in what you believe in. If you like it, then, go for it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Robbie and Nabila, for your time in such a busy week today and at such a busy time. Really, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And Robbie, I hope to see you pretty soon during your trip to Southeast Asia or our trip to wherever you are. You travel to a lot, a bit too much. So hopefully we can catch you. And Nabila, I hope to catch you tomorrow with Jacqueline.
We'll catch you tomorrow in the token week. So.
Cool. Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for all your support, and wish us luck for our TGE. We'll be praying to all the religions out there in the universe and to be fine. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.